Welcome to Flight Pass. We're on our way back to Ligny, the battlefield of Ligny. The date, let me just sort that out. It's the 17th now of June 1815. So it's the day after the Battle of Ligny and Quatre Bras, and we're going to be looking at the withdrawal of the Prussians from Ligny towards Wavre. I'll start off with a little bit of a trailer thing for the YouTube short people, and then we can continue the discussion. Hello YouTube shorters, you find us here at Ligny. The date is the 17th of June 1815. The Prussians have been knocked back, but they haven't quite been defeated, but they are knocked back from the position of Ligny. It's too late in the evening for the Napoleon to press his advantage. So what happens? Do the Prussians retreat along their lines of supply towards Namur and Ligne, or do they head north and keep in contact with Wellington's army? If you like history and you like a bit of flying, then this is it really. It's got everything. We use the Huey, we're flying around, I'm live, talking live, and I need your help to have a discussion about what we see and what we think and how distance and terrain affects the decisions that affects us all in the end because of history. So if that sounds good to you, you can click on the link here and it will take you to the video. Right, that sounds about right. Okay. Thanks Hecdino. Love to at some point. Just to let you know, by the way, I don't really go on to Discord, but thanks for the chat anyway. That's good. We are here. This is Ligny. If you have been following along, remember this is where essentially the Prussian front line was. This is Ziethen's corps was here on our right. So these are the villages of Saint-Amand. And we have here where the white dot is now the village of Ligny. This is where the Imperial Guard has taken over. This place here is the windmill at Bussy, and it's near here that Blücher gets knocked off his horse, and he's protected, but he's injured. You remember he's a 71-year-old guy, so he's a bit sore. And basically the Prussians start to fall back, and they head on this side. The cause of just lost my train of thought. Ziethen and the other guy who I can't remember. Bear with. It's the guy with one after his title because he's oh god, what is his name? See, you can tell this is live. Perch, of course, Perch. Perch 1. Perch 1's second corps was in this area here, just behind Bry. And Bry is this village here. And they basically start streaming back to a place called Tilly, which is here. Now, because there's been a little bit of... So, there's a significant action on the day of the 16th was that Erlon was ordered his corps to come across to see Napoleon. And he came across in such a way that Van Damme believed, or he didn't know who it was. And so this meant that the whole attack of the Imperial Guard was delayed by an hour or so. And the knock-on consequences of that delay was that when Napoleon eventually got his breakthrough here at Ligny, it was getting too late in the evening to press his advantage. Now, we're just going to just fly gently around here. So this is where the army of the Prussians are falling back. So the center of the Prussian army and the right-hand side of the Prussian army, so Ziton and Perch's corps, are pulling back north, and this is important. And Thielmann, he was in charge of the 3rd Corps of the Prussians, and he was on the left-hand side of the battlefield over at the village of Sombref, which we can see here. He's not affected so much during the battle, because the left-hand side of the Prussians' army is kind of protected by a lot of marshland, and Napoleon on the day of the Battle of Ligny put some troops down there and some cavalry, but they were more like a pinning size force, because basically what Napoleon is trying to do is to force the right flank of Prussians to pivot to the east, and that then drives the Prussians away from Wellington, who's in the west side. So Thielmann's army is going to fall back, and they're falling back towards a place called Gembloux, which we should see. It's over this side here. Now I will try to remain in the helicopter as much as possible, but when we do have to jump out, I will do, just to keep some of the flight simmers happy. Now, Thielmann's pulling back to Gembloux because the 4th Corps of the Prussian army is under command of Bülow. He's been coming up from Liège, and he's expecting in that sort of area. Let's just pause here, and I'll just grab the map, and hopefully everybody can see this. This is the journey that we've just done. We've gone from Elba here. We moved up to the Gulf of Juan here, and when we went through Grasse, we went through Digne, Le Ban, Sisteron, Gap, and we headed up towards Grenoble. This, by the way, is Wavre. This is the place where the first serious resistance occurred to Napoleon's return. He then goes into Grenoble, and eventually we'll go to Lyon, and then up to Auxerre, which is, I believe, here, and then to Fontainebleau, into Paris. He then came out early June, around about the 12th of June. He rode to Soissons, Léon, and eventually ends up at Avesnes-sur-Helpe. They launched the attack across the border around Beaumont, in the center, Philippeville on the right-hand side, and basically Binche on the left-hand side towards Charleroi, and then he splits his army in two, gives Ney half of it, basically almost, I would say probably two corps, Rail and D'Erlon, and he's told to take the crossroads here at Waterloo, which is where the number 3 is. And whilst Grouchy has the corps of Van Damme and Gerard, he comes up towards Ligny, and the Emperor Napoleon will be furious with his Imperial Guard. So after the battle at Ligny, what we're talking about then is that the right-hand flank of the Prussian army will pull back to Tilly and Mellery, and then eventually they'll head up here towards Wavre, and the left-hand flank of the Prussians, which was Thielmann's corps, was at Sombref, and they would retire to Gembloux. This is because the 4th Corps has been travelling as fast as they can from Liège to, well, I say fast as again, they're coming from Liège, Namur. Now, let's just jump back into the helicopter. So this this is the road towards Gembloux. You can see that in the distance there. Before the battle, there was no agreed route of retreat, and we have to give the Chief of Staff of the Prussians, his name was Gneisno. He was basically in charge because Blucher had fallen off his horse and they couldn't find him, and he Gneisno will make a series of decisions that have been said even by, I think, Wellington, that it was one of the biggest decisions probably of the early 19th century, and that was to retreat north towards Wavre rather than trying to go back on their supply lines, which would be Namur, Liège, and then on towards the Rhineland. Now, Gneisno made this decision even though he had complete mistrust in Wellington. He didn't like Wellington, I think. He thought he was probably a little bit pompous and a little bit sort of like talks down to them. You know, Wellington had promised to come to the Prussians' defense. Now, we know Muffling, the Prussian liaison officer, did say that Wellington had the caveat, you know, unless I've been attacked by Napoleon. But even so, I think Gneisno didn't really trust that Wellington would do what was in the best interest of the Prussians. But nevertheless, to that, he still decides that he needs to retreat to the north. Now, when we talk about going to the north, you got to remember, from this side anyway, it's kind of almost like sort of bolting the stable door after the horse has fled. The Prussian army, I think, would generally going this way anyway, and all he kind of then does is sends his officers up ahead to try to start getting control of the army. But he does make a couple of very interesting decisions. He does go over to the east, or tells his officers to move to the eastern side of the battlefield to stop troops going east. He's not completely successful. There are around about 8,000 troops do go down that road, and they head down towards Namur. But otherwise, he's pretty successful in changing the direction of the retreat. And he sends Thielmann's corps to Gembloux. And what this essentially does is it, whether it was intended or not, it actually confuses the French. There's 8,000 men streaming to the east. It's obviously a sizable amount of men, can be mistaken for a corps moving. There's also troop movements to Gembloux, so again there's another direction to Gembloux. And essentially what it does is it masks his intended retreat, which was to the north from Tilly. And we'll come to see that the French put out patrols, and one of the things that Napoleon fails to do is to patrol to the north, and therefore believes that the Prussian army is either moving east or to Gembloux, and therefore he's got the opportunity to turn onto Wellington's army. Now, of course, if the Prussian army is moving over to Tilly here, it also suggests that Gneisenau was possibly thinking about joining up with Wellington sooner. Because we'll just have a quick look at Tilly, but there is roads moving east-west from here. We can just see if he would be able to link up with say the rear guard of the rear elements of Wellington's army at Quatre Bras. Marbais is, and literally the road to Quatre Bras runs from Marbais here. So Tilly seems like a place. I believe there's a crossroads here, and as you can see, we could just possibly just fly over here and just see where this road goes. They head up this way. I believe this village up here is called Mellery, and this is where the Gneisenau managed to meet up with Blucher and realizes that he's not dead. This place over here is essentially Frasnes. We're kind of now, you can see it isn't as obvious, it's not a big straight road here, but you could wiggle your way over through these valleys. And you can see here, just on this top of this hill, this is Genappe, which is on the Brussels Charleroi road that Wellington will use. So it's interesting to think why he doesn't come back this way, or he feels he has to retreat probably in parallel to this road here. So we can see Genappe there. So it's not as easy to get across. There's a lot of little valleys and trees and woods, and maybe it wasn't conducive to two corps of troops moving across. Right, let's turn round. We'll head back then towards Tilly. And from there, we'll follow the Prussian retreat to Wavre. And essentially, I think what happens is rather it being a decision of Gneisenau and Blücher to retreat to Wavre, just because of the way that the army was streaming out from the battlefield, they were heading to Wavre anyway, so it became the place for them to go to. And it's also believed that at the time when they were looking at the map, Wavre was the clearest place on the map that was north and in parallel, heading back towards Brussels and in parallel with Wellington. So they just sort of said, okay, let's go with the flow, as it were, and we'll put some officers, ride your officers along the retreating mob, turn that retreating mob into a retiring, organized army, and then turn that army into an organized retreating strategic maneuver, and then we can then turn that strategic maneuver into a strategic tactical advance. Right, on that note then, it seems like a good place to have a little pause, a little break. We're at Tilly. The date is 17th, well, it's probably late 16th June 1815, and from this we'll continue. I am live on Twitch and YouTube right now. You can join me, and if you're watching back, then hopefully you've been enjoying it. Please leave a like or a comment or anything like that, and I will see you in the next one.